Hey guys, so if you're new here, ShakeTube 2017 is a 15-week read-along of Shakespeare plays. Each week we read a play, and then on the Friday we post a video of our thoughts on that particular play. This is currently week 13, so we're nearing the end of it, and this week we've read Macbeth. Just a really great play, sometimes referred to as simply the Scottish play, particularly in theaters, where thought of mentioning the word Macbeth, that it will bring bad luck to the theater and the performance. Anyway, Macbeth is a general in the Scottish army, and he is serving along with his friend Banquo, also another general, and they're returning from a battle in which they were very successful, and they encounter these three witches who give each man a prophecy. To Macbeth, they say that he will become the Thane of Cawdor. He's already the Thane of Glamis, which is sort of a Scottish nobility title, and that he will also become king. Doesn't think anything of it. These women must be crazy, you know. And to Banquo they say, you'll be lesser than Macbeth. You will not become king, but your descendants will. So neither one thinks much of it until a messenger from the king comes to greet them and, you know, congratulate them on their success and tells Macbeth that you are now the new Thane of Cawdor. So, hey, you know, first prophecy has come true. Maybe the second one will be true. You know, Macbeth thinks I can become king. He's a very powerful and ambitious man. And instantly this thought kind of enters into his head. He ends up writing home to his wife, who's referred to only as Lady Macbeth within the play, and tells her of this prophecy, and also that the king will be coming to stay with them for a short while. And she instantly, you know, is also as ambitious as her husband, but she also knows he doesn't have the meanness, I guess, within his soul to kind of pull this off, even though he is very ambitious. She starts to kind of wish to the spirits for the strength to do what needs to be done. She says here, "Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe top full of direst cruelty." She kind of spurs her husband on. She says, "Screw your courage to the sticking place and will not fail." She actually comes up with the plan on how they will kill the king, and it's quite shocking. She's quite an evil character within this. It doesn't seem to have quite the conscience that Macbeth does, at least early on in the play. He is kind of fretful about it. He keeps thinking about it. This one line here, "If it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well it were done quickly." He just wants it over and done with. So when the final moment, actually before the moment even comes, he starts seeing bloody daggers before his eyes. He's already kind of descending slightly into madness. When they finally go about doing this, she comes up with a plan to kind of drug the guards outside of the king's rooms. So while they're asleep, Macbeth can go in and murder Duncan, and then leave the daggers, the bloody daggers, in their hands to make them look guilty of the crime. He comes out and he's like already hearing voices. He thinks he hears a voice scream, "Sleep no more, but Macbeth doth murder sleep." And he's holding these bloody daggers. So he's done the deed. She sees it and she's like, "What are you doing? You still have the daggers within your hands." So she grabs them from him and goes back to put them on the bodies of the men. And now they both have these, you know, bloody hands before them. You know, Macbeth is sort of thinking, you know, Neptune's ocean, wash this blood clean from my hands. And she's like, "A little water will clear us of this deed. It'll be gone in no time." But later on within the play, that little thing about the blood on her hands will come up again. As the play progresses, you could see Macbeth happens to say in this one part in Act 3, Scene 2, "Things bad begun make strong themselves by ill." And it's translated here, thank you for No Fear Shakespeare, that bad deeds force you to commit more bad deeds. And this is true. In order to kind of help cover up the crime of killing the king, he realizes Banquo was there at the prophecies, and he knows what was said and who would have benefited by the death of Duncan within Macbeth's own home. He starts to worry that Banquo's going to put two and two together. And then there's also Banquo's son Fleance. If Banquo is supposed to give rise to the descendants of kings, that would probably fall to Fleance, so he could also be a threat. Now there's two more people that Macbeth's got to kind of bump off, so it kind of starts to spiral out of control, and more of these murders on each of their souls just start to kind of rip apart their sanity. There are forces kind of acting outside as well. Once Duncan was murdered, his two sons, Malcolm and Dunsany, flee the country in fear for their own lives, but it also kind of makes them appear guilty in their own father's deaths. But Malcolm will later on come back and try and, get the crown back with the help of some other people, including one man named Macbeth. Macbeth needs like more assurance. Things are kind of like getting beyond his control, and he actually goes back to the witches for more information in this prophecy. How safe is he? Has he done what he needs to do to keep hold of this crown? And he's given some other confusing, twisting information. One of the things that the witches tell him is that the power of man, for none of woman born shall harm Macbeth. So nobody born of woman from a woman can harm Macbeth. So he's thinking, well, that just eliminates everybody. I must be safe. How else would you have been born? And there's also another prophecy where it's sort of like this forest has to move closer to their location or something really bizarre for like danger to be approaching Macbeth. And he said, like, a forest can't move. But it's really interesting the way that whole thing plays out towards the end of the play. You see Lady Macbeth, like I said, she starts to feel the guilt of what she has done. It starts to really weigh heavily on her mind. Where before Macbeth said, Macbeth doth murder sleep, she begins to sleepwalk, and she is seen by various members of the household wandering around at night, rubbing out her hands, trying to remove this imaginary blood that she still sees clinging to her hands. Apparently she's being seen by the doctor, and Macbeth is talking to him, and he says, canst thou not minister to a mind diseased, pluck from the memory a rooted sorrow, raise out the written troubles of the brain, and with some sweet oblivious antidote cleanse the stuffed bosom of that perilous stuff which weighs upon the heart. I think he's almost hoping for something for himself to kind of take this pressure, this guilt off of both of them. But nothing seems to, nothing's going to cleanse the crimes that they have committed, and eventually Lady Macbeth takes her own life. And when he hears about this, he just, he makes this great soliloquy. I just love this one part here. It says, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day, to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools to the way to dusty death. Out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Like, we're just here for a short period of time, and what does it all amount to? What impact do we have? But apparently in the case of Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, it's a pretty evil impact, but just a really intriguing character. Also, Lady Macbeth. I've never seen such a evil female character within the plays that seemed to have more of a strength of will than her own husband. But then she seemed like she was going to be the strongest one to be able to carry this off, and then she's ends up being the one that succumbs to the guilt and everything first. But it's just a really great play, a pretty short one as well, considering like King Lear and Hamlet that we've encountered before in the tragedies, but just a really, really great play. And next up, I don't have a copy of it, but it's Antony and Cleopatra, and then just one more week after that, it's going to be The Tempest. Both two plays I have not ever read before, I really know absolutely nothing about, so I'm looking forward to kind of delving into those two. But if you guys have read Macbeth before, what did you think about it? I'm looking forward to kind of checking out the other YouTube videos and seeing what everybody else thought. So I'm off to do that now after I edit this, and I'll see you guys later. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.